Hey guys, Terrence here from Neptune Systems. I'm here with another episode of Let's Talk Reef. Definitely enjoying everything about my reef keeping. I hope you guys are, and I hope that you guys will enjoy this stream. Definitely got some good stuff here for you today, and let's just dive right in. I think I've got another window here I got to pull off. There we go. Okay, so what's up first? First things first, always. I need to thank you guys. I need to thank you for joining us, sticking with us. I don't know how many of these episodes we've done so far, but I think it's got to be, I don't know, 7 or 8. And we've been trying to keep them going as regular as we possibly can. Every 2 weeks, we have another live stream. The next one is going to be on February 26th, so mark your calendars. Every 2 weeks, we do them at 5 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next one that we're going to have is on February 26th, and we're going to have the Masna Award winner, I believe, from 2011, the first MACNA I ever went to, Dana Riddle. Dana Riddle has done some amazing things with lighting and doing some studies out in Hawaii. He has a paper that many people have talked about, have written about on a lot of the forums and different blogs out there, talking about DLI and turbidity of water and what corals are actually getting and what they can use and what light they can use. And so I spoke to Dana this morning and asked him if he could come on our next episode in 2 weeks, and he agreed, and we're super excited to have Dana for that on the 26th. So make sure you set your calendars for that one because it's going to be great. The other thing I want to tell you guys is you need to ask questions and you have to give comments. Those people who give comments and questions, they have a chance also to get free swag and sometimes free gear. So this particular episode, I'm going to be giving away a WXM to one person, okay? Because we're going to be talking about that at the end of the show. And we're going to be, giving away a lot of other swag like hats or T-shirts. We just kind of throw it over there to those guys and they decide what goes in the box, but it's always some good stuff. The thing that we like to do now, though, is only do it randomly from the people who comment or question in the last half of the show. So from the moment you see Tech Corner come on until the end of the show, those are the people who we're going to select from randomly. So you're going to want to stick around for the whole thing. Last Let's Talk Reef, we had 2 winners that we selected for swag. The first one is Mike Bayer. Mike Bayer, you win some free swag, so definitely send us a PM, get your details, and we'll get that out to you. And another one, a good friend of mine actually, who just happened to randomly come up, Marcin Smock out of New York. He's going to get some swag as well. Marcin's actually one of our NSI members too. He's testing the Trident right now and has that on his tank, and you can go out. He's actually shown pictures of it and whatnot on some of the forums. So you two guys, you guys are the winners of the swag from the last one. Make sure you put the questions and comments in so that you guys can be eligible to win as well. Now, if you're afraid that you're going to miss the show, you want to make sure that in Facebook that you like our page, that you select to see it first, and that if you really want to get the notification, you select that notification window just like in this graphic. Super important, you'll get them to pop right up on your phone. If you're a YouTuber and not a Facebooker, you'll want to click the subscribe button, and then you'll also want to then click the little bell. That will give you the notification as well. Definitely want to do that if you don't want to miss one of these Let's Talk Reef episodes. Now, next up, where is Neptune Systems going to be? We revealed this last time. I just want to kind of go over it again. Because we do have one coming up, ReefWorks Expo in Seattle, Washington. I went out to that one last year. This year we will have, Vincent will be out there showing off some of our gear and answering any of your questions. So make sure that you go out there to Seattle if you're in the Seattle area and go to that event. And then of course we have the Frag Farmers Market and Reef Stock and some other things coming up just in a few weeks. Where you guys can come out and see us. I will be, the first event I will be at Reef Stock in Colorado, and then I will be in, I think, South Carolina in Charleston for Reef Dreams. So you'll be able to see me in either one of those places if you want to come out, talk to me, talk about reef keeping stuff. Let's talk about your tank. I'd be more than happy to do it. It's what I love. It's my passion. So these are the places that you guys are going to find us over this year, and we'll probably bring this up each time we have one of these Let's Talk Reefs, so we can remind you. Now, the next thing I like to do in every one of these episodes is give a little shout out to some of our dealers, some of our local fish stores around the country that are putting in the hard work to provide you fish and corals and dry goods and help you have a great reef keeping experience. So I'm going to kind of go down the list here. Let me first look to see if I've got any interesting questions. Oh man, I got so many questions already coming through. This is good because it wasn't working, and now it's coming on. So some people are happy with the guests that we've got. We've got some people with cord management. Gail says she's got some cord management and going to do some programming. Going to need some help. Our support team will be there for you, Gail. We're going to be at the Greater Niagara Show in March. That's right, George. So we will be up there having fun in the cold. I'm sure it's going to still be cold up there. But let's give a shout out to some of these dealers. The first one is actually in Redding, California, in our backyard. It's NorCal. NorCal, let's get this off of here. NorCal Corals is up in Redding, California. They've been a dealer for quite some time. They carry stock on our products, and they have some expertise up there as well. So if you are in that area, definitely check out NorCal Corals. They have some great corals up there as well, and some really nice display tanks. Here's a little picture of some of their store. Definitely give them a visit. So shout out to them. Thank you for being a dealer at NorCal. So glad to have you. Next up is Saltwater City. Saltwater City is up there in the Seattle area. Trev is up there. Bellevue, Washington. I got to read it off of here. And they will be also at ReefWorks. So Vincent will be with them at ReefWorks in their booth answering those questions on the 23rd of this month. Next up to give a shout out to is way over in Florida, Treasure Coast Corals. Over at Treasure Coast Corals, John Scrappitz, okay, runs that place, or is the man over there, and it's in Vero Beach, Florida. Again, Neptune Systems dealer. If you want to get your goods in that area, stop on in to Treasure Coast Corals. Now, last but not least is, again, the Canadians. We have Aquarium Depot. Aquarium Depot has 2 locations in Ontario. Hussein is the guy there. He stocks a lot of dry goods. You can see in this picture in the upper right there all the Neptune Systems gear that he has. But salt, everything you need for a reef keeping setup, he has there. Definitely pay him a visit, check him out, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed because it looks like a beautiful store. I haven't been there. But shout out to you guys at Aquarium Depot. If you guys have a store that you want us to give a shout out to that's an a Neptune Systems dealer, please let us know in the comments, and we'll do so. Absolutely. Okay. Next up, the question, right? Maybe there's not that many people asking questions about it anymore. Maybe it's oversaturated. I don't know. But I think every one of these Let's Talk Reefs, I'm going to at least bring it up, let you guys know where things are, let you know what we can let you know, and hopefully answer some questions sometime during this broadcast about the Trident. So as you may or may not know, the Trident is a system for testing alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium multiple times a day, and providing that information to our dosing system to automatically change the dosing on your tank in small amounts in order to keep your tank in the perfect stasis for coral building elements. This particular product is right now out with our Neptune Systems Insiders, or what we call our NSI team. And these guys are the ones that are really putting it through the last mile with us, finding little bugs, finding things we might have overlooked, really trying to make it the best product it can be before we get it out to you. Of course, the #1 question that we get asked all the time is, when is this thing going to be out? And the answer I give each and every time for quite a while now is pretty much when it's ready. And the NSI is what's going to let us know when that time is. Is it going to be a year away? No, it's going to be less than a year away, but we can't give you an exact date at this time. The moment we can have an exact date, I can assure you it's going to be pushed out there. But it is going well. It is in the NSI. We have quite a number of people who have it, and you can go out on the forums and on Facebook, and they are giving some feedback on it. Obviously, it is a private group that is doing this, so there are some non-disclosure restrictions that they have, but you know, they are able to tell they think it's a good thing. They think it's testing their tank the way it should. They can let us know. But certainly, it's a product that I can tell you personally, on my reef tank, it's already made a dramatic difference, and I'm really excited, not just for myself because I have it, but when we're able to release it, to bring it to all of you guys, it is really a big change for us reef keepers. Okay, some questions. Hopefully it's available at Reefapalooza, California. Yeah, I can't tell you. We don't know for sure right now when it's going to be, but your hope is my hope. I hope it could be tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to be there. Somebody asked for the cost. It's going to be under $600. The reagents will cost about $20 a month for all 3 of them to do the standard testing, which is 4 alkalinity tests a day, 2 calcium, and 2 magnesium tests. Definitely, I think it's affordable. It saves you so much time and gives you so much insight on your aquarium. I just can't even explain it. I showed a little bit last week, so if you want to see a little bit more detail on it, or sorry, last Let's Talk Reef, I went into more detail on an incident on my tank. Go back to that recorded Let's Talk Reef and check it out. Okay, so one of the things that that I wanted to do with the Let's Talk Reef series was not just make it about our product specifically. Myself and Paul, both of us are you know, as are a number of people at Neptune Systems, very passionate reef keepers, and we have a lot of information to share, and we share it all the time at trade shows when we meet all of you control freaks. And it's not just about Neptune products. We just love talking about reef stuff. And somebody asked me recently about cleanup crew, as it's called in the reef keeping genre, for your aquarium. And I thought, well, that's a great topic to put out there for Let's Talk Reef, to give you guys my opinion, kind of what I think are good janitors for a reef tank. This is certainly not an exhaustive thing that I'm going to talk about, and it's definitely my opinion. But I think it will give you a little bit of insight to what I do, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. So this is I think his name's Fred from SpongeBob SquarePants. I love this particular picture. So first thing to talk about is snails, okay? And so I think it's probably what people think of first when they talk about cleanup crew. And one of the things that many people get when it comes to snails are these gigantic Mexican turbo snails that fish stores seem to give to people. That's the first thing I'm going to say that I don't recommend to get, both from the water is not right for them necessarily. They're huge and they get gigantic. They knock stuff over. I tend to see them do really well in cleaning up a lot of algae, and then they kind of burn out and die. So I like things that are going to last a while in my aquarium for my money. And you know, what has been kind of a staple for me has always been the Astrea snails, or Astrea snails. And they come small to big. They seem to live forever in a tank. You can get little ones and they'll grow up to be, you know, an inch and a half across. They don't get stuck too easily when they fall over, sometimes in some corals. They don't generally get into your power heads too much, like seraphids or other snails seem to do. And they do a really good job at cleaning up the detritus and some algae through the tank. The other snail that I think is even better, though, are these zebra or banded trochus snails. These little guys live a long time. They clean up stuff in the tank really well, clean up the algae quite well. They're a little more expensive. You're going to spend 2 or 3 times as much for these snails. But one really cool thing is they do reproduce, okay? And so you will, over time, not fast, but over time you will start to get other little snails in there. You'll see them lay their eggs. And, you know, at least you get some new ones coming along. Now, one thing with snails and a cleanup crew in general that I notice is people, I think, especially early on with their aquariums, when there's usually these algae blooms and whatnot, tend to buy too few. You really need to get enough in there so that they can really take over and get ahead of whatever's in the aquarium. If you tend to have too many after your tank starts to get established, you can always give them to a friend, give them to some other people in the reef club, but you want them to do their job. You don't want them to be behind, so to speak. So buy more, in my opinion, than you think you'll need. It's much better. You get rid of the algae a lot sooner. Now, another thing is for snails, because we're still talking about snails, that I really like. There's lots of snails that are called Nassarius snails. And Nassarius snails are snails that live under the sand. And they're really good for turning over the sand. At the moment you feed, they come out of the sand to try to feed. And at night, they generally come out and they eat a lot of the detritus along the bottom of the tank. I'm not a huge fan of the little tiny ones that you can get. Again, this is my own personal opinion. They seem to burn out a little bit faster for me. The ones that I rarely see, and when I do, I always try to pick some up, are these orange spot Nassarius snails. You won't find them very often, and they will be expensive. But they go from really small to really big. You can get them literally almost 2 inches across, and they look almost like a nuclear submarine coming out of the water when they come out of the sand. They're really, really neat. But again, they're detritivores. They'll eat a lot of the stuff in the sand, and they live a long, long time, or at least they have in my tanks. So if you do see those around, I strongly suggest picking some of them up. And my son's tank, they even climbed out of the tank, fell on the floor for a day, and put them back in the tank. They still lived, so they're really hardy. Now, that's snails. There's obviously lots of other choices in snails, but those are the ones that I happen to really like. The next thing are crabs, okay? And there's lots of different crabs out there. I'm not a fan of a lot of the hermit crabs out there, like the blue leg hermits and the red leg hermits. They're not something that I've ever thought did a great job as these scarlet hermits do. Again, scarlet hermits tend to cost a lot more than getting a blue leg hermit or a red leg hermit, but they tend to live a long time. They eat a lot of different things. Some people have said they'll eat cyano. I don't know that for sure, but they definitely eat detritus and some of the turf algae and whatnot through the aquarium. And you don't need that many of them. You can get a couple, 3, 4 of them in a 100, 150 gallon tank, and those guys will just march around eating like crazy. And they're fun to watch too, because they're big. They're not like the little tiny blue legs. The other crab that I am a fan of are emerald crabs. And this one's somewhat controversial for people because emerald crabs have a tendency sometimes to go rogue. They will start picking at things they're not supposed to. However, the alternative is that you will get algae. There's certain turf algae. I know Paul has in his tank, had like a bristly kind of turf algae that he had that I hadn't seen before. And most often the Valonia or bubble algae is one that is just the bane of us aquarists in our tanks. And these guys will eat the Valonia. They'll eat the bubble algae. They'll take it out of your tank. Sometimes if they start to get a little, ornery, you might have to take them out of the tank. If they decide to go after a small fish or they get too big or whatever, but they will get rid of that algae. I have one in my sump to get rid of the bubble algae in my sump that I have. So definitely like the emerald crabs, but you got to be a little bit careful. There are, like I said, a lot of other crabs, Sally Lightfoots and all these others. I'm just not a fan of those. Now, another thing that we have in our tanks sometimes, and it comes in, it just does, is nuisance anemones like Aptasia and Majanos or Mahanos, however you want to pronounce it. And they get in your tank. There's a lot of different ways to get rid of it that are not natural. One of the things I like to have in my tank to keep them at bay, especially when they're small and you can't even see them, are peppermint shrimp. Again, it's a hit or miss. Some people say that some of them will eat the Aptasia, some of them won't. I tend to, to have a pretty good luck of keeping the Aiptasia at bay, but if you have a huge amount of Aiptasia, I've never had luck with them taking it all down from a lot of it. I've had to use something else to do that. But I like having them in my tank. They're fun to look at hanging from underneath the ledges at night with their little glowing eyes. So peppermint shrimp are definitely in my book as something that I like to have as a janitor in my reef. Okay, let's see if I've got any questions so far. VJ Lakesman says, I'm afraid of spiders and that Sally crab is way too freaky. I agree with you, those Sally crabs are freaky. Looks like we've got Greg Carroll's in the house. He likes the scarlet hermits too, so at least I know I'm on the right page there because Greg is an old school reef keeper too. Rami from Blue Seas is here, and so is Tom, our guy from the East Coast. The one thing I didn't mention in here that is also something I like are these fighting conchs. For your sand, it's often very hard to keep the detritus from being on your sand, creating cyano, creating other problems. If you can get something that starts to turn the sand over a lot for you, those are very helpful. So fighting conchs are what I have in my tank. I have like a 400-gallon tank. I have, I don't know, 8 or 10 of them in there. And they're always marching around, digging in the sand, and just keeping it turned over. The other guy that I love, and I actually shot this next video in my tank this morning, my dog loves this, this little guy. My dog gets up on a stool to see inside my tank, and he just watches this guy all day long, is my little diamond goby. And I really believe that if you can have one of these fish in your tank, they will always keep your sand so clean. They just go around. You can see my little guy here. He's a little scared from me filming, but he'll pick up some sand, run through his gills, eat some of the detritus out of there, and move on to the next spot. He's actually quite big too. This guy's almost, I don't know, 5 or 6 inches long. He's been in the tank since I started the tank up. And if you can get a diamond goby, they've got so much character. They just march around the bottom of the tank, eating up the sand and spitting it back out. Super, super cool fish. Definitely a fun one to watch. Okay, other important considerations with these reef janitors. The first one to talk about is, like I said, you need more than you thought generally. You're going to need to replenish them because they do die. I mean, I don't know what their lifespans are, but maybe some things happen. Sometimes they flip over behind a rock and can't get themselves back. You will need to replenish them from time to time. You need to be careful of certain animals that like to kill and eat inverts, specifically things like wrasses. So check carefully before you buy a wrasse, because those guys are really good at flipping over a crab or a snail and just sucking that snail right out of the shell. So definitely be careful of what other fish and animals that you put in there, or they could decimate your cleanup crew or your reef janitors. They like to be, most of these things I've talked about like to be acclimated. It's super important when you get them from the store or what have you, to slow acclimate them, especially things like shrimp or crabs. Often certain crabs, they like to have that salinity, pH and whatnot all in line before you put them in. And last, be careful of certain tank treatments that you have. There are things that you add to the tank to kill off other pests and whatnot that sometimes are deadly to snails, crabs, and other inverts. So be very careful before you add something into your tank to know that you're not going to take out your reef janitors or your cleanup crew. Whew, okay. So anyway, that's my whole kind of thing on reef janitors. I hope it was helpful to you guys. This is the kind of content I want to bring. If it's not what you want to hear, you got to let me know that too. But I'm always trying to come up with something, some little tidbit that I think we can impart on you guys. Okay. Okay, we got a lot of good conversation going there in the comments. Martin Cho says, diamond goby is the bomb, especially if it eats frozen food. Somebody asked about Asterina starfish. That's a very interesting question. Asterina starfish can really get out of hand in some aquariums. There's 2 things that you can do. One of them is a harlequin shrimp that will take down any kind of starfish, and they will take out that Asterina population right away. The problem is once they do that, they'll starve to death unless you have other starfish to feed them. So you have to, cut off arms of chocolate chip starfish or whatever and feed them, and that's maybe not something you want to do. So it might not be the way to go. Another thing that I have heard that takes them out as natural prey is the Linkia starfish, which generally are not really great to have in reef tanks because they are hard to feed. You know, I think it really just depends how bad your infestation is, what you would do to get rid of those asterina. Sometimes you can just hand remove them and get them more or less under control. Okay. Okay, let's see here. What's up next? Okay. Checking salinity. Okay. Now, checking salinity, you're probably immediately thinking I'm about to talk about the apex, but I'm not. What I'm going to talk about is checking salinity, for instance, periodically just wanting to check your tank or to check your quarantine tank or to verify that your apex is maybe where it needs to be. Maybe you get fish from the aquarium store and you want to know what the salinity is on that water as it's coming in, so you understand how to acclimate it, and when you're acclimating in the bucket, how fast it comes up in the bucket and you get to the point you need to get so you get it in balance with your tank. Maybe in your water change water, you want to make sure that it's on point with what your tank is. So you want to be able to very quickly dip into both of them. There are a few different ways, obviously, to check your salinity. We've talked about them before. The first one that is the kind of the go-to is the refractometer. I love them. Love to use you know, the calibration fluid. There's from different sources. Obviously, every time you use it, it's a good idea. But it is kind of a pain. Another great tool is the Milwaukee one. I know many of you have that. It also uses optics to tell what the salinity is. They cost about 140 bucks or so, and they're very, very handy, but they are kind of, they're not as easy to use as you'd think they could be. A lot of people have seen these new devices, these little wands that you can stick in your tank, and I've watched them over the last year and a half come around, and I've tried a couple of them. I've looked at people's experience with them. I'm not going to mention any brands or any types of them, but they generally have a little electrode on the end. You dip them in the tank, or they have a little cup that connects to the bottom of it. And they kind of work, but they kind of have some problems too, and their lifespan is not that great because it's in salinity, and you know, the plating on the metal goes off, and there's lots of reasons why they're not an ideal product in my opinion. That said, a product has come out that I've been trying over the last few weeks and using that I think finally fits the bill of probably the coolest, easiest to use, most precise, handy little device at a great value that's come along for this, of everything I've seen. And it's this new Hanna, you know, salinity checker. It's waterproof. It has, let me see if I can hook on the other camera here so you can see. If you, let's see, I'll take that one off. If you look right here in the camera, there's two carbon electrodes and a metal electrode there. The metal electrode is for the temperature, and the other two are to measure the conductivity of the water, and then it does a temperature compensation between the two. Now, the thing is that the ones that were used before used a plated metal, and they would get corroded and they wouldn't work. But this particular one I've used, and it really works. I mean, you can calibrate it. It comes in this nice little box. It comes with a bunch of calibration solutions that you just dip it in there. Things like this, in my opinion, they're not a replacement for your apex salinity checking. And I know many of you out there have had challenges with the apex salinity checking. And it's definitely going to be a serious episode of Let's Talk Reef in the not too distant future, where we're going to talk about how to get the best that you possibly can out of your apex salinity probe, because we all run them here. We kind of know the tips and tricks, and we're going to have to impart those on you. But even with that, I still have this around for all the reasons that I said. You just dip it in. I got a little video here. I did it this morning. It was so cool. I just wanted to video this for you guys. And you can see, here's my tank. I'm over the top of my tank. I turn it on. It kind of resets, tells me that the battery's good at 98%. Once it goes to 0, I just dipped it into the water. You kind of shake it around, jiggle around a little bit. It has to take a temperature of the water too, as well as the conductivity. And then it basically puts up a reading of 33.1 ppt on there. Definitely a really cool device. It's waterproof. You can drop it in the tank. I really can't say anything but good stuff about this product from Hanna, and certainly I personally recommend it for all those tasks that I talked about. any questions on there. Let's see, got any more questions that we can go through? Somebody said, yeah, this is more of a reference than obviously an in situ kind of read. Jonathan Gordon's tried it out. He says it's pretty cool too. Somebody else, 77 Bonzo Bean from YouTube, said that I'm having trouble with my salinity probe. Again, we're going to do an episode on this. Paul and I know that we need to. I've got a whole presentation that I've given at MACNA before on this, and then Paul is going to come around and do all the technical stuff in the Apex. So we'll definitely talk about that. Somebody, good point somebody made, Joe Villavicencio, talked about that you need to remove your cleanup crew or some of your cleanup crew, certain types, if you're going to use interceptor for red bugs. So that's also really good information. All right, so next thing up that we have here is we're going to be doing Tech Corner, and today we're going to be talking about the WXM and the ReefLink. So let's get Paul in here for Tech Corner and talk about that stuff. All right, we're here with Paul Jansen.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
With a musical interlude. You know you love that.
I do. What can I say?
So today, Paul, we put out a thing to talk about what we're going to do today and ask people if they'd give us some suggestions on on what they wanted to see on Let's Talk Reef today. Okay, so we did get one request that came in that I thought, what a great idea. JC Rizzo, top fan on our page, said, could you please discuss the difference between the ReefLink versus the Neptune Systems WXM Vortec wireless expansion module? Pros and cons, please. JC Rizzo, that's what we're going to do today, is talk exactly about that. We're going to talk about the differences and even show you guys a bunch of examples. Right, Paul?
Exactly. It was funny, we weren't in the same place. We both kind of saw that comment at the same time, and within 5 or 10 minutes we were texting each other that that's what we were going to talk about today in Tech Corner. We
do get a lot of questions. I see them on the forums all the time. Somebody says, hey, should I get the WXM or should I get the ReefLink? And and some people think that they have to have both, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is the WXM module. I mean, it is a module like any other module, right?
It is. Yep. It is an Aquabus module. It has the only difference is it has the RF chip that you find in your Radian lights and your Vortec pumps.
So it's the same, basically the same radio subsystem in here that's inside the ReefLink, right?
Yes, it's a bridge, if you will, from Ecotech Marine Devices to the Neptune Systems Apex.
Okay, so we've got the Radions.
Yep.
So from Gen 1 through Gen 4.
Yep. Today's Radions.
That would be what are the 15s and the 30s, right?
Yep. The 15s, the 30s, the pros, the non-pros. They all work. And they work very well.
Then we have the Vortex, which are the MP10, MP40, MP60s. They all have to be the W versions, right?
Yes, they all have to have the W.
And then we've got the Vectras, right?
Yes, the Vectra is Ecotech's return pump. It is not controllable.
It is not controllable with the WXM.
Yes, and so
we'd like it to be.
Right. There are a lot of questions of why won't you guys integrate? Why won't you guys integrate? We're ready. We have the capability to do it. We just have to have the keys to the car, so to speak, from Ecotech, and then we could do it. But I get that that's not something.
That's up to them.
That's not something they want to do, and that's fine.
But what we're going to talk about today is the differences and why you'd want to get the WXM.
Yes.
Instead of, let's say, the ReefLink, because you don't need both, right?
You don't need both. All right. So you can do either or.
Okay.
All right? And the analogy that I like to use, Terrence, right, is you just got a new Bluetooth player at home.
Okay.
The remote control on that Bluetooth player is very elaborate, right? It's got your play function, your power function, all those other things. But
lots of buttons.
Then it has like picture-in-picture, zoom, slow-mo, all these other things. But essentially, all you want to do when you put that in is hit the play button.
So you want like the grandma remote, right?
Exactly. Good one. Middle image. But and essentially, right, when you use the Ecotech devices, you're going to get all the bells and whistles, right? When you use the Neptune Systems approach to it, you get what's the most important features
and most necessary.
The most necessary and important.
So sometimes, exactly. So like on my TV, right? I don't need to necessarily use picture-in-picture. I think I never used it before.
Yeah, exactly.
The deep setup menu for all the colors on my TV. I've never used that before.
Never touched it. Yeah.
Volume, channels, all of that stuff. Absolutely.
All the time. And with the WXM, you can control all the different light channels on the radiant light. You can control the intensity of it. You can have some storm and cloud features.
Can I do the AB plus and all of that stuff too?
All of the different modes and everything like that. And those are the things we're going to go in today. With the Vortec, right, you get all of the different modes. You can schedule those modes throughout the day and then pair up other pumps with it and all that kind of stuff.
So configuring, so basically with the devices from Ecotech Marine, to configure them, you can configure them either with the ReefLink, or you can also, I mean, we're talking about like the hardcore deep configuration, or with a USB cable, right?
Right.
For that first configuration or something?
So for a Vortec pump, you don't need anything, right? You can put it in one mode and it can be in that mode all the time. Okay. If you get a ReefLink, right, then you can schedule modes throughout the day in their method. Same thing with the radiant light, right? You can connect that light to your computer and program it, but you can't tweak it at all, right? You can't put it in different modes unless it's connected to your computer. If you have a ReefLink, you can do that. Or, you could have a WXM and have everything in one place.
Right, and you see, this is again back to the analogy, right? It's like having the universal remote for your TV,
exactly.
Right? If you have it all in Apex Fusion, now you can integrate all of these different devices.
Exactly.
Like at home, when I tell Alexa, it's like, okay, I want to watch a satellite on my TV. It turns the TV on, it turns the satellite dish on, it puts it on the channel I want, does all that for me.
So for example, in a reef, right, I want to do maintenance on my tank, right? So when I want to do maintenance on my tank, I want to turn my pumps off. Right, I want to put my lights up so I can see everything nice and easy, right? And I want my return pump off, I want my skimmer off, all those different things that we want to do in a maintenance mode. You can all do that now from one button, right? You don't have to go to multiple buttons and prepare everything. It's just one app, one button, and that's what the WXM offers you.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so what are we going to see here today? What are you going to show us?
Well, what am I going to show you today is I'm going to do a live demo from the start to finish.
Really live?
Really live.
Not a fake live one?
Not a fake live.
So this is like trade show kind of stuff. So hopefully everything's going to go smoothly, Paul?
Yes, so if it doesn't go smoothly, I will have fallbacks and things can always happen. But a big common theme I hear is, oh my gosh, it's so hard to set all this stuff on the Apex. In fact, I was just looking on our Facebook group today of someone just like pulling their hair out, and for me, I mean, I'm literally going to
So let's make it easy for them, okay?
So I haven't done a video on this. Maybe this is the video.
I think this should be the video. I mean, we're going to do more live stuff like this. I think it is the way to go.
So we're going to go to Brady Bunch mode.
Okay.
Great.
Let's do Brady Bunch.
I like Brady Bunch mode.
Let's hope Brady Bunch works. Let's see here.
Are we?
Okay, there we go. Am I looking at you?
Yep, we got the screen. So for now, I'll just go ahead and go over here. Boom. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of prepare my devices to be attached to the WXM. Okay. This is very easy to do. Let's do the Vortec first.
Okay.
Okay, so let's confirm that you guys can see this. All right, can they see that okay?
Yeah, I can see it.
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold the mode and set button.
Okay.
Come on. No, it's not going yet. Hold on.
Oh, no.
There it goes. Okay. It's flashing lights. Okay. Now,
don't ask me what color. I'm a little colorblind.
Now I'm going to press the mode button.
Okay.
Okay. It's flashing a different color of lights now.
Okay.
And now I'm going to push the set button.
I'm sure this is documented, guys, where you can pause and rewind.
And now you can see that it went back to green. Okay. Now to connect it up, so now I've just reset this Vortec to factory settings.
So it's back to 0.
Yes.
Okay.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold that mode and set button again.
Okay. Buttons are kind of hard to push.
Yeah, sometimes they are. Okay, it's flashing buttons, and now I'm just going to tap the set button. And we can see that it's flashing blue and yellow.
Excellent.
That means that it's attaching to the WXM module. Okay.
So now, because it's basically what's happening is the WXM is like listening all the time, right?
Exactly.
And now this has said, I'm broadcasting, please, connect to me, please connect.
Exactly.
And then they've just made a handshake.
Exactly, right?
Perfect.
Now to connect your radiant lights, it's just as easy. So the first thing you need to do to connect your radiant lights, though, is you do need to set those radians to factory settings. I would expect there would be some button pushes to do this, but that's not possible. So what you do is you connect a USB to your computer and to your Ecotech Marine device.
I only have to do this one time, right?
Only one time. Okay. You open up the EcoSmart Connection Manager. you click on that icon right there up in the top right-hand corner. See that? Okay, click on there. And then you click on USB Radion, and then click on Factory Reset.
Okay.
At this point, you say yes. Okay? And the light will now go to full blast like it is there.
So now it's like starting from 0 again. It's
starting from 0, exactly. All right. So now what we do is we need to attach that to the sorry guys, thought I had that ready for us. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the gears button here. Okay.
Somebody just downloaded 500 from your Chase account.
Right. And I'm going to click on the module button.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. Having all sorts of fun here.
This is what it's about, guys. This is a live demo. This is how you can tell it's live. Paul is now logging into Apex Fusion.
Oh my gosh, people can see this. I'm going to have to immediately change
They can't see this, can they? Oh, they can they? Oh, no.
Gosh.
Oh, no, it is live. Russ, if you're out there.
Please change that.
Please change. Should have told me. I would have knocked it off of here. Yeah. Somebody's trying it right now.
It'll be okay.
Kurt's in the back end right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I'm going to go ahead and attach it there. Okay.
You know one of these guys, these control freaks, is rewinding that right now. Yeah. Well, they can't rewind because it's live. They can't until it's over.
Yay.
So they can't. Okay.
All right. You can see, if you can see any background here, the light just turned on. It's turned back off, and so it's connecting up to the WXM module. Okay. And a little bit here, you're going to see that appear in the module configuration where it says all these numbers. That eventually will show up a Radion, but we don't need to wait for that right now.
Okay.
And so now I can go to my outlet configuration, and in a second there's going to be a Radion light there.
It says new tiles.
Yeah, those are probably from something else. There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
There's the new Radion. So live he did it. Okay. Okay.
So this is a default schedule that you see right here, okay? And
it says Radion though.
Right, it's a default schedule, right? Okay. That's just basically what it is when we first started up.
Okay.
Okay. It's very easy to set these up. We basically can take.
Are we doing the Radion or are we doing the Vortex?
We're doing the Radion right now.
Okay.
Okay. So we have these different points on here, okay? Where you can go do all these different things with it.
So you can add more points, right? You can delete points. This is basically how you can set up your ramping for the day.
And then at each point, I can select what type of color that I want to do.
And these are the same presets that you would find inside the ReefLink, right?
Exactly. So at these different points, I can add different things.
What if I want to look at that and see what it looks like on my tank?
Yeah, no problem, right? What we want to do here is we want to go and we can do a preview function. Okay.
So you're on that dot right now at 9:11 in the morning.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I can just click on preview.
Okay.
Okay. And when I click on preview, I don't know if you guys can see the lights are changing right in the background there, and it will change to that for 15 seconds or so.
Okay.
There is also this preview button right here at the very top. Okay, see that big play button? That play button will do your entire 24 hours of your Apex operation.
So everything that you have with timers, everything.
So if you have timers, dosing pumps, all that sort of, it'll all run at the same time.
Be aware of that.
Yes, be aware of that. You have the ability to add cloud cover or storm cover. So if you want to add, maybe an hour of that, right? You can click on the gear, add a point.
So storm is the lightning, right?
And you can move those very close to each other.
This is a good example of where we've kind of simplified the operation. So yeah, if you're in the ReefLink, you can say, yeah, I want lightning every 6.8 minutes or something like that. Here we just have like a random lightning that's going to come on over the tank.
Exactly.
Make it easier for people to be able to put these into place. I mean, nowadays nobody really uses lightning anymore.
Right.
Who wants to give your fish epilepsy anyway?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool gimmick, but in terms of what it does, the cloud cover I find a little bit more interesting. But again, I like consistency.
Right.
I want to do the same thing all the time in my reef. That's just me.
So the color in the back there, that's representative of the spectrum color changes throughout the day.
And so if I wanted to go to like a deep blue, you can see how that spectrum changed a little bit as well. But Terrence, I'm no lighting expert.
Okay.
By any means. I have no idea what my corals want.
Hey, guess what?
What's that?
2 weeks, we're going to have a lighting expert.
I know.
Right here. Well, not here. He's going to be over in Georgia where he lives.
Yes.
We'll have him on Skype.
Right.
But he's going to be talking to us about this lighting and whatnot and setting things up. So I think people will be wanting to change their lighting and try different things out based around what we're going to talk about.
Yes.
But you sometimes want to change your stuff. You don't want to lose what you had.
Exactly, right?
So what do we do for that?
So first off, I just need to update this, right? Assuming this is the configuration that I want. And so I'm like, maybe I like this. Now I can click on this arrow button up here.
Okay.
Okay. And this here is called schemes, Terrence. Okay. So I have the ability to basically to save this. Okay.
So is this so this is like my own personal little like toolbox of ways that I want to have my vortex run or my radions. It even works for stuff like Kessel lights. If you guys have a Kessel light, right?
Any light that uses variable control can use schemes.
Basically anything that shows you a graph like this, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. You can do this with dose even, right?
Oh,
so
right.
you can do
That's
anything that has our wizard function has the ability to do schemes. And you know, my demo for
because you know the thing is that maybe somebody else helped you set the tank up or your local fish store, and you're like worried, like, whoa, I don't want to touch it because it works.
But you want to try something new.
But you want to try something new, you can do it and be safe and go back to what you had.
So you can call this whatever you want, right? I put the tank volume there. I put, you know, what type of coral I have. I can make this private or I can share it. Because I'm just kind of playing around right now, I'm just going to do a private, right? And then I can click OK. So now I can change anything and easily come back to this. But as I said, Terrence, I'm not a lighting expert. There are lighting experts out there.
There's a lot of people running radions.
And so if I hit this little download button here and I click on Discover, right, I can now do something like
So this is like social media for lighting.
Exactly. I can click on AB, right, and that shows me all the different variations that people are using for the AB Plus mode. Your fish store may be like, hey, I do the AB Plus mode, but I do it a little bit different. They can save that and share it with you here.
Or somebody in your Reef Club?
Yeah, exactly. Just say, all you got to know is A, what they called it, B, their username, right? Any of this stuff. And so, for example, I'm going to use this this one here. It has a really good rating from Russ here at Neptune Systems. Select that, and immediately I have the AB Plus mode that's from Ecotech Marine right there. A real popular mode back in the day was like the Radiant Color mode, right? That was before. You know, and then so here's some radiant color modes that you know, some of our users put on there and how they adjusted it.
And you can also search for things like SPS or mixed reef or what have you if you don't really even know what you want yet. When you save these, because if you get something good too, you can save it for other
Somebody
people.
else, yeah.
Right?
Be like, hey, check out what I'm doing. Look at the growth that I'm
doing. And you can put in that it's SPS, that you've got a 300-gallon tank, etc.
And like I said too, you can also get a little bit of description, you know, in terms of what it is and things like that by just hovering over it, and you can just really see a lot of different options there, right?
Okay.
My vortex, right? I can basically kind of program the exact same way, okay? And that here,
So now with pumps, we have a lot of options, right? Because we have, you know, like they have reef crest, or they have constant, or they have pulsing, and then we have, you know, inverse, right? So if one pump is doing like 90%, the other one's doing 10, right?
Exactly. And with this, right, just very similar to this, you have the different modes that you can go through. You can drag and drop. And then if you want to do, you know, like BRS has been pushing the worldwide coral.
Worldwide corals, yeah.
You know, I can just put in WWC there, right? And immediately I have all the different WWC, you know, profiles that people.
So this is what they're running in their coral farm.
Exactly.
So you don't want to pick for yourself or experiment. You can go out and use exactly what Worldwide Corals is using in their coral farm.
And so this is really, in terms of the sharing aspect, I don't know of any other company that does this sort of thing.
I don't know that they do or not, or how many people they have, or if it's actually being utilized. I do know that this particular feature in our software is, in my opinion, underutilized in terms of helping people be more successful and sharing this information across different reef types and successes. I don't know why most people, when I talk to them, are like, did you save it as a scheme? Did you give it to other people?
It's a completely underutilized
That's our fault.
It really is. I mean, that's part of what I'm trying to show off today. And guys, you can do this with, you know, the iota lights, like the primes. You can do the same thing. A lot of people have already worked AB Plus mode because Randy did that on BRS a couple weeks ago, where he redid the AB modes all for the primes. And people have already shared that in schemes as well. So you don't need to go in and do every little point. Somebody else has already done that, and you can save it right then and there, right?
Hey, but Paul, what happens is you only showed me one, right? so I know, and we're on. You just went to Vortec.
Yeah.
We did the lighting, but you know, especially for lighting, you really, you know, you usually have 6 lights or 5 lights or 3 lights or whatever it is. You want them all to be the same generally, most people.
I have just one light on my tank, so I can't show you, so I'll show you a tank in the office here that has multiple lights, Russ's tank, right? And you can see that's the mode that he's running. You know, we can download schemes of what people put on there. Hey, look, there's that AB Plus I was talking about.
Cool.
And if he wanted to make his lights all the same, there's this copy function right here. In this copy function, you can choose one of your other configurations, copy it over, and then update it.
Boom, there you have it.
Just like that.
Okay.
And so that's basically how we do all those sort of things, right?
That seems really simple.
It is, right? And then the only other thing I kind of want to show you, right, is, you know, we were talking about, you know, all-in-one place sort of things.
Right, the universal remote control.
Exactly.
Apex Fusion is that universal reef keeping control.
Exactly. So what we do to be able to do that, right, is we, first off, we need to create what we call a profile.
Okay.
This is a little bit more.
This is getting into the geeky territory.
Into geeky territory. So a profile, if I haven't mentioned before, is kind of the how. Okay. So we can click on a profile, right? And I have this mode called blue mode.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a radium profile type, right? And I can select that there, and you have all the.
So basically, what this does is it sets the light not over time, but basically just says set the light in this configuration right now.
Right now, right.
Okay.
So, but this is.
But it doesn't do anything on its own.
It doesn't do anything on its own. I'm creating a how aspect, right?
Got it.
Well, this is like, how do you want me to do that? Right? And then in a second, I'll tell you when I want you to do that. Okay? And so you'll see that I can go in here and I have all the different modes, right? I have the start and the intensities and all those sorts of different things. And, you know, I can update that if that was
So blue mode, is that your coral sails mode?
Yes, exactly, right? And then in my configuration, right, I can simply reference those very easily, and I've kind of pointed this out before.
Okay.
Right? I have if output blue equals on, then go into blue mode.
Okay.
So I basically click on a virtual outlet, and it immediately goes into blue mode. Okay.
So this is like again, somebody's over at your house, and you're like, you know, bro, you got to check out this coral in this blue mode that I've got, and you hit the button right on your phone, and then it goes into that blue mode, right?
Yes, exactly. You know, some people call this party mode, right?
Oh yeah.
Feed C is my maintenance mode, right? And so I just immediately turn my lights on to 50%, and so to do that, I just put the 50 number there.
One cool thing that actually Mr. Saltwater Tank did a long time ago is he put a level sensor, you know, like those old mercury switches, but I think it was an electronic version of it, into the canopy. And then when the canopy was lifted, it tripped that switch, and it took all the lights down to 10%. So you didn't get blasted in the face with the LED lights when you lift up the canopy.
And you could do that really easy,
pretty neat.
Terrence, right? So you could say, if you connected a magnetic switch or something like that to your canopy, you just wire that switch to one of the switch inputs to the I/O breakout box.
Okay.
And then you say when that switch is open or closed, then maybe turn the lights on to 10%. Right?
Okay.
So maybe they're not all the way off or something like that. You know?
Definitely a lot of stuff you can do. I think that, you know, people ask, well, which one should I get, right? I think if you're already an Apex person and you love the idea of integrating all of your things together, then you absolutely go the WXM route because you can put it all together. You're not going to another app. You're not going some other place. You have a ton of options, and you know, with our forums and with you know, Facebook groups and everything else, if you get into a little bit of a bind, just go out there. There's so many people using this right now. I mean, there's literally thousands and thousands of people who are controlling their, you know, their Ecotech devices with an Apex.
Exactly, and for me personally, right, it's a great feature to add, you know, because we just get all this flexibility in terms of just integrating that into the Apex. You control a lot of Ecotech Marine devices, 11 Ecotech Marine devices with one WXM.
Okay, that's a good point. I was looking for some questions in that. That's a good one that you bring up. So 11 devices means the combination of Vortex and Radions.
Yes.
That's the max you can have on a WXM.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you are...
How many people do you know that have 11 Ecotech devices. I know they're out there, and I know I have a couple of them. You know,
not a whole lot. You know, I mean, we're not at a coral farm or anything like that.
I'll name drop Jimmy Colson in Vegas. Okay, the guy's a maniac. He did that big MACNA party. That guy has 9 Radions over the tank and like 6 MP60s on that one tank.
And so what we did with him is we set him up with 2 WXM modules. So you can have up to 2 WXM modules in a given area. They can
on the same apex, right?
They can be on the same apex. They could be on 2 separate apexes, right? And so you could, in a given area, you can hook up to about 22 Ecotech
because there's
Marine
2
devices.
different channels that you can run the stuff on.
We get 2 channels from Ecotech Marine to be able to control those things.
Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, Paul, you really should smile more.
Did Tom say that?
No, Jennifer Embry said that.
Oh, thanks, Jennifer.
So you gotta have some fun, Paul.
Guys, I just get so focused. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so we did get James Geyer. This is good. I'm glad we're doing this. Said that makes it so much easier than what I heard.
Yeah.
So mission accomplished. Thank you very
James.
much, man.
I appreciate that comment.
Okay, let's see if we have any other. Somebody, John Hendrickson says, I love my WXM. Let's see. Oh, look, unicorn tracks. Oh, what's that? Oh, go to full mode. We're still in here. Sorry. Okay. Tech wide. Oh, well, let's see. I even have questions mode. There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Sorry. All right, let's see if there's any other questions. I've got questions on both, but for some reason my stream, the questions again went crazy. I don't know why, so I'm looking on Paul's phone here to see if we have any other pertinent questions. Steve Simon says 3 Radions and 8 Vortex, 3 different tanks. So yeah, a good point that you can, it doesn't have to be all obviously on the same tank, because some people have a frag tank or a quarantine tank as well.
You can control those all from one. And I will say, if you do need to go to the second WXM, please reach out to our support team first. There's just a couple things you need to do to prepare for that.
Okay.
Rather than trying to explain it, it's just easier to work with.
I think it's a very few amount of people that are going to need that. Clint Warren says, mine work over 100 feet away from each other. It does work a long way.
Sometimes it works over very long distances. Here in the office, though, we have a lot of walls, a lot of Wi-Fi networks and things like that. We can't get more than 20 or 30 feet, right? So it really depends on the building materials and all sorts of different things. Wireless is wireless. It's going to do a different thing in every environment. Matthew
Duarte, thank you for joining us, Matthew. And yeah, your name's going to be in the hat for winning some cool stuff, hopefully. Maybe another WXM,
maybe.
if you already have one. But his question was, are schemes limited to hardware?
Schemes limited to hardware?
I think what he means is that, are they hardware specific? And they are.
They are. They're more device specific, right? So if I have an XR30, right, and I want to share a scheme with an XR15, I can't do that.
Okay.
Right? Because the XR15...
What about the Gen 4 to Gen 3?
That is compatible,
okay.
Right? Just the channels that are not available just disappear.
Okay.
Right? So those don't get uploaded.
Okay. That was actually a question. It says, by that I mean Russ M's using a G3. Can I use it for a G4?
You should be able to, as far as I know.
Okay. And what about, okay, so another way to explain the hardware thing too is like if you have the variable speed channels.
Yes.
So you can have a scheme for Kessels, right?
Yes.
But it's going to be in the same list as a scheme for, say, J-bow pumps.
Exactly, right? So the Kessels,
keywords.
The A360s and things like that, those use the same hardware component, the variable voltage outputs on an Apex.
Okay. Or the VDM module.
So that's already built into your Apex. So when you're looking for Kessel control and you're using variable control, you want to type in the word Kessel, and you're going to get an intensity channel, which is on port 1, and you'll get a color channel, which is on port 2.
They have the shifting.
Forgive me if I've just mixed those up. Yeah. I don't know off the top
They'll
of my
figure
head.
it out.
Yeah, you'll figure it out real quick.
It's only 2 channels.
And I need to correct myself. The all the XR30s, right, are compatible through Gen 1 through Gen 3. If you go to the XR4 Pro, that is a kind of its own device.
Okay.
Right? So XR4 Pros are not shareable with other, because it adds those two
extra channels. Yes. Okay, all right. Jonathan Gordon again, Vectra support will never happen, right? Not up to us.
I mean, again, I'm ready to play.
Let's see. Somebody said, yeah, 22 if you've got 2 WXMs. Okay. I think we've pretty much gone through most of the questions, Paul.
Great.
You know,
I like it.
A lot of people giving you stuff. A lot of your friends out there giving you.
Oh, give me some.
Yeah, giving you a little bit of love.
That's nice. One thing I will say too, though, is I really appreciated the comment today of asking us what to do. We want to know what you guys want to do, right? So these tech corners are designed to help our users be more successful.
And yeah, right? Understand the products better. It always is a little bit sad to me when somebody says, yeah, well, I just use the Apex for turning off and on an outlet.
Exactly.
There's so much more that you have available to you without even spending, any more money, even just in the base Apex. And so hopefully we can get that across to people.
Yeah, and and just giving you ideas in terms of what those possibilities are, showing you how to do them, and never be afraid to ask. Come to these shows, ask us to show you. We're happy to do so. Reach out on the forum, ask our support team. We're here to help. Ask your store, right? The nice thing is, we've got some of these stores now, and they're getting so good with our product.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and so use those resources available to you.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to be about it, Paul. Okay. I think we had a great show tonight, and you guys come back again in 2 weeks. That would be 26th of February. We're going to have Dana Riddle, who's going to be on the Skype connection with me, talking about lighting in reef tanks, and some of the tools that we have built into the Apex or through things like the PAR monitoring kit that can make you more successful with your lighting, especially talking about DLI,
right.
Daily Light Integral.
I don't. I know about DLI because you talk to me about it pretty frequently. Right. But I don't think a lot of people know about that. It's going to be a very informative episode in terms of a lot of people think the PAR meter is just useful for where I should do things right now. There's actually a lot of utility.
So you better bone up on this before.
Yeah, even me, right? I'm like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to prepare some stuff.
Exactly. All right, guys, well, that's about it. And again, thank you for joining us. Until next time, enjoy those fish. Take care.
Thanks, guys.